I'm pretty sure they've interviewed her by now. If for some inane reason they were to come out that she had knowledge. That's separate from the football program. She's an educator at the school. That's a Title IX issue. Title IX is in place by the NCAA in order to protect women and women's rights. And Florida State got hit with a Title IX case regarding Jameis Winston and his rape of a young lady on campus. And they're still paying for penalties like that. They take away scholarships. They fine you money. And they call you to Indianapolis. It's a closed door meeting. And they call you in there, and you're there for about 5-6 hours, and they read you the riot act repeatedly, and then kick you out the room, tell you going home, and tell your mom about it, because they don't play that. So if Shelley knew about this, which again, because of Zach Smith, I hate to do this. You have to bring Courtney Smith into this now, because again, remember, if she's telling her this, you have to think that somehow, some way, Zach's going to have loose lips and is going to give back to Urban Meyer. He gets cleared out of this all the way. Now, as far as any sort of penalties for Urban Meyer, I could possibly see him getting levied a large fine by the school, an official reprimand, again, terms and conditions of your contract, any sort of public figure, say that you can't bring any sort of public embarrassment or, undue media circumstances towards us because of this. So, could I see him getting fined? Yeah. Suspended the game? Maybe. I mean, they're still going through practices. They're about a month away from any sort of actual on-the-field activities. He will probably miss a game or two already. I think that would be just a tad bit heavy-handed if he's cleared in this for them to say, well, hey, you got to sit out another game. I think they'll just say, hey, we're going to publicly reprimand you. You're on probation for the next 2 years. Pay this fine. We're going to put it behind us. And, OHIO, let's go win some ball games. That's how that's going to play out. But Urban Meyer's got to be a little bit more careful in who he brings on his staffs now. Because remember, at Florida, he had this guy in 2009. There was a domestic violence incident, and he was brought onto the Ohio State staff probably as a favor to Herb Bruce, who's an Ohio State coach and legend. Zach Smith is his grandson, so he probably did it as a favor, probably did it because he had coached with him before at Florida and thought, hey, this guy's no football, he's a good coach, he can help my team, help these players. Okay, fine. I get all of that. But just like I always say on this show, next time you want to bring somebody on your staff, you might want to check their resume. And I mean, brush through that bad boy with a fine-tooth comb. Turn it over to the school. Just say, hey, run this guy through the system and see what he's got. Don't just go off a ledge and just say, hey, I know this guy, I coached with him before. Everything's okay. Because you did this with Zach Smith, and now you see the situation that you're in. So, again, Urban Meyer gets off of this. Not going to be totally unscathed. Zach Smith and his wife are going to go through whatever legal issues they're going to go through. And here in a year or two, this will probably be forgotten. But, a lot of people in the national media, Paul Feinbaum was like, Urban Meyer lied to my face. Like, you got to be real careful when you say stuff like that. Like, Nick Saban already almost pulled up on him at SEC Media Day a couple years ago. Like, he was sitting right there like, hey, you say one more bad thing about my program, I'm going to knock you out just like LL Cool J said on national TV right here. Say something else. And Paul Feinbaum cooled his heels, backed off, laughed it off. Urban Meyer seems like he's more of a cooler customer, but Urban looked like he liked to cuss people out. That's just the general perception I can get from him. He looks like he probably take you. He won't say it on camera. He won't do it no cameras or microphones around. He'll sit back and Paul, I understand. But then once the interview is over, hey Paul, come here for a second. Call you back here in this back room. And you're going to hear the door close, and then you're going to hear some loud yelling. And there's going to be some F-bombs, MFs, and a couple little threats issued. And you're going to see Urban walk out the room, straighten up his tie, flash that $1 million smile. You're going to see Paul Feinbaum walk back on set, and that's going to be the end of it. But you can't go around making general assumptions about things just off of how the optics look. Or what your opinion of what the optics look. Like, for instance, this is my opinion. Paul Feinbaum thinks Urban Meyer is guilty, should be fired, excoriated. Nah, I'm not going down that road. I don't see enough there based off of Zach Smith and who he is to say, yeah, fire Urban. No. He didn't have nothing to do with this. I'm willing to bet, generally, he didn't know. And if he did, he would have said something. His wife didn't know, and if she did, she would have said something to her husband, and they would have followed the proper protocols. So, the issue at Ohio State will continue until the president and the Board of Regents decide to meet and issue their ruling, which again, I think is going to come out in Urban Meyer's favor. Which brings us now to the University of Maryland and their current investigation stemming from the death of 19-year-old Jordan McNair here in early June following a May 29th incident in which she passed out after suffering effects related to a heat stroke. This happened after a workout where he was running 110-yard sprints, or what we call gassers for us football players out there. So this is myself, played football back in the day. He was showing visible signs of extreme exhaustion, had difficulty standing upright while running the sprints, and was found to have a body temperature of 106 degrees at the time he was brought to the hospital. He was in the hospital for 2 weeks. From May 29th on, he was in the hospital for 2 weeks following this, and unfortunately never pulled out and recovered from that incident as well. So again, our thoughts and prayers are with the McNair family at this time. I've seen this, saw his uncle on TV a couple times. His uncle said that he cut his hair the Friday before this incident had happened, and was just talking to him, and he was excited about playing college football and the work that went into it, and he was very happy about it. You also saw his mother and father, who were on Good Morning America, and they were interviewed by ESPN yesterday as well. And you can see his mother is very distraught. His father is kind of like what I would be in, towards a quiet anger. He didn't say much, but you could visibly see that if the individuals I'm about to name here now, if you could see that if they were in front of them, it would be a different story altogether. When you send your kids to an institution, when you send your kids to school in general, like I have an 11-year-old daughter that I send to school every day. You put your child's life, especially with these school shootings. There was a shooting in Oklahoma City yesterday, and another one I believe that was in Indianapolis. You know, this is the first day of school at an elementary, high school, middle school. You're literally putting your child's life in the hands of other strangers. You are entrusting them for the time that your child is there to enrich them, to help them grow, and more importantly, to protect that aspect. Because this young man is deceased today. And that's not right. None of that is right. The incident also pulled back, kind of pulled back the curtain on the culture of dangerous practices, on fear, humiliation, bullying that had been going on in Maryland. It was outlined in the ESPN story that was published late last Friday that really didn't get a whole lot of pub. By Saturday, the story was on fire. Head coach DJ Durkin has been placed on administrative leave, and I'll get to what really should have happened to him momentarily. Strength and conditioning coach Rick Hort was fired here a couple days ago, following an interview and an investigation into his role in McNair's death. There was a former Maryland staffer, that spoke with ESPN and said that, quote, "I would never, ever, ever allow my child to be coached there by those guys." Another former staffer in Maryland said that, quote, "The language is so profane it's demeaning at times. And when you characterize people in such derogatory, demeaning terms, particularly if they don't have a skill level that you think they need or that you want them to aspire to, or they may not ever get, then it's rough for you to watch and see, because if it was your son, you wouldn't want anybody talking to your son that way." And I wholeheartedly agree. There is a culture of toughness in most sports, football in particular. Your manhood gets called out, your manhood gets challenged, people say stuff to you, cuss, yell, whatever. Okay, great. But there's a fine line between motivation and bullying and intimidation. There's a fine line, and obviously this line's been crossed. That former staffer also went on to state that the way that they coach them in Maryland is tough love, but it's really more tough than it is love. And again, this type of coaches happens at all levels of football. You hear basketball coaches challenge it, even in baseball, soccer, hockey, where they want to be the best. They want you to be the best and make everybody else better around them. And again, there are ways to get that done without somebody dying or without somebody winding up in a hospital or winding up, irreparably harmed. Which obviously these idiots in Maryland must have not got that memo. And again, what happened there doesn't fall in line with the motivational part of what you need to do with your athletes. The question I have is why, if he's running gassers and nobody stopped to see him and they actually said that he was, not being able to stand upright, not doing well, why wasn't he stopped from running gassers at that point in time? Gassers, by the way, are 110-yard sprints where you basically go from inline to end, where you basically go from the back of one end zone to the inline of the other as fast as you can. And they time you on it. And the only time that you really have time to catch your breath or to try to take a rest is in the distance where you're walking back down the field. And even then you hear whistles and people clapping and, hey, come on, pick it up, let's go, come on back. Because they want you to run it again. So the question I have again is that if you see that he's struggling, he's not being able to stand up, he's short of breath, I would assume that he's turning some sort of color in his face. He's needing water, he's having problem breathing. Why wouldn't anybody say, hey, have him step off the line? Why would anybody allow this? Why would anybody allow this to keep going? Again, the strength and conditioning coach is gone. I'm sorry. Whoever was standing on that in-line blowing that whistle, you got to go too. And any other coach that was standing there clapping and telling him to hurry it up, get on back down there, sorry, guess what? You contributed to his death, you got to go too. His parents made their first public comments on Good Morning America yesterday morning, and in part said that they hold head coach DJ Durkin and Rick Court and the entire coaching staff responsible for their son's death. They said that they wanted Durkin fired and that he nor Court should be allowed to ever coach young men again. And again, I wholeheartedly agree. However, I'm going to take it a level further than that. I don't think either one of them should be allowed to coach any sport with anybody ever again. Young men or women. I don't give a damn if it's 11 on 11 at the rec league and they out in the back playing flag football. No, sorry, not gonna happen. You don't need to be around young men anymore. Period. You don't need to be around young women anymore. Period. Somebody has died in your care, and I've seen people on social media come out and actually defend them, and I'm like, what are you thinking about? This young man is gone. There is no feasible defense for somebody that's dead. He's dead. He's gone. He's not coming back. You can see the pain on his mother's face. It pained me to watch that interview. You can see Michael Strahan was kind of soft-handed in the questions. You can see it pain him. 19 years old, and that young man is gone. Because of somebody's ignorance and malfeasance because they didn't care. Because he quote-unquote didn't prove his manhood to you. Enough of it. You can't defend somebody's death. That should go without saying. I'm sorry. I should have to get online and see people that were like, well, you know what? He was a big guy. Maybe he was out of shape. And maybe it was a heart condition. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was that. Maybe they didn't know. Bullshit. Total bullshit. If that was my son, I'm sorry. We're not going to Good Morning America. I'm gonna be in jail because I'm coming to see you. And why the university has not fired DJ? Why are you putting him on administrative leave? For what? I'd love to know this reason. I'm going to get to what the university president said here in a second, and I'm going to come back for that. For what God-known and named reason are you putting this clown on administrative leave for after a player died in his care?